leader, a sheikh. But in a khanqa, this is you are being taught Sufism, not a particular school, but general Sufism. The idea started, we've had Sufis from the very beginning of Islam, but they were individual Sufis. They became popular in time so that they had a lot of followers. These were what we call them the schools, the Sufi schools. But many of those schools had introduced some ceremonies that the traditional Muslim scholar did not accept as part of Islam. So they introduced music, they introduced some movements, some dancing, which, well, there was a bit of a conflict, put it this way, between the traditional scholar and the Sufi scholar. But the Sufi scholars were more popular because they said they talked to the heart, so they were more popular. By the end of the 11th century, we hear of the Sheikh Al-Ghazali, and he was the teacher of Sunni law. So he was a traditional scholar, and he was the head of the most important school at the time. For some reason, when he was already 50, so at the peak of his career, he was dissatisfied with what he was teaching. And he decided to leave everything and go and start studying with some of those Sufi sheikhs to see why are they so much more popular. And he started traveling. And he's the one who sat down and started filtering Sufism, removing what was considered to be against Sunni Islam. So he filtered it, and he wrote then his famous books, which is how to incorporate Sufism into Sunni Islam, all right, without adding too many things that maybe the traditional scholar would not accept. Once he did that, and his books came out, Sufism became accepted, not only accepted, but you have to be a scholar of traditional law first, and then you can enter and the spiritual path. So you must be first a Muslim who understands the pillars of Islam and how to be a Muslim before you can start the Sufi path. And the Sufi path is a very long one. It has 7 stages, but it's a spiritual path. All right? So a khanqa then is to teach a person how to enter into this path. But he is of course under the leadership of a leader. So each khanqa was in fact with a sheikh. Now, one can say here, what is the difference between a zawiya and a khanqa? The zawiya, you are going to a particular sheikh because you want only his teaching. It is his way that you want to follow. And he has nothing to do with the government, and he's not controlled by anyone. It's free teaching. A khanqa is organized by the state. It is like a madrasa. It is the ruler normally who appoints the sheikh who's going to be the leader of this khanqa, and he also says what is going to be studied. So this is a way of controlling, to a certain extent, Sufi spirituality. So this is what we call the khanqa. It became very popular from the 13th century onwards. At first, the khanqa was a separate building, and the mosque was a separate building, and the madrasa was a separate building. In time, you started getting multifunctional buildings where they serve as a Friday mosque. They also serve to teach Islamic law, and they also have khanqas or Sufism several times. It depends on the curriculum that you have, how many times a week you're going to teach this or this or this. So this is the idea of the khanqa. The khanqa will be very popular in Egypt then from the 12th, well, I would say from the 13th century until the arrival of the Ottomans. The Ottomans put an end to the khanqa institution.